joining today in our live stream this evening. Apologies if there was some misunderstanding and miscommunication with regards to our live stream. I think I apparently published on YouTube that our live stream is going to be tomorrow evening, Sunday. However, our live stream is actually this Saturday. Okay, so just let me just do a little bit adjusting here before we continue, because this evening what we're going to do is we're going to be discussing quite a number of topics for the pageant updates this this evening. We will be talking about the the predominance of crossovers going to Miss Universe this year. We'll be talking about around 6 candidates who are crossing over from different pageant systems into the competition in El Salvador this year. And then we will be talking about the quite shocking but not really surprising decision, or rather rumors that there is a possibility that Indonesia is not going to be sending a candidate in Miss Universe later this year. And then we will be talking about another quite intriguing, or rather difficult topic, where Miss Universe South Africa, who is Bryoni Natalie Govender, said something about colorism in growing up in India. So those are the things that we'll be talking about this evening. And if you have any questions, any comments, please feel free to list them down on the comment box, on the live chat box below. So para mabasa natin sila later on. And please, for those who are not yet subscribed to our channel, please do subscribe and help me grow this channel so that I can continuously put forth more content into our live stream episodes and our video content. The more people joining us, the better. And also, I also would want you to, help grow this channel by liking, sharing, and commenting in our posts, in our in our YouTube Reels or YouTube Shorts, and our videos and live streams. Okay, so this coming month, this September, is going to be the lull between the pageant seasons. Kasi at this point in time, most candidates have already been selected by around mid or third week of September. There are a lot of pageants that will be crowning their representatives this September. And among the more anticipated na mga pageants that we're looking forward to is going to be the Miss Universe Colombia and the selection for the representative for the Dominican Republic, which is somewhere around this I think first week, second week of September. I think MUC is around September 6, 7, 8, or 9. So we will be anticipating that, and then we will be having the selection of the representative for India, the Miss Diva pageant, tomorrow. That's around early morning or late evening in our time here in the Philippines. I think meron tayong around 4 hours na lead with regards to the time zone, if I'm not mistaken. So I will be posting siguro some updates on my socials para everyone will be able to get a hold kung anong oras mag-start yung pageant. Anyway, Monday, wala namang pasok. So I don't think na magiging issue siya, because okay lang magpuyat. For those na hindi required na pumasok on Monday, because Monday is going to be a national holiday here in the Philippines. And then Also, we will be talking about pala later later in this live stream yung pagkapanalo ni Karla Inilis Guilfu ng Puerto Rico. So, medyo marami-rami tayong pag-uusapan in this live stream. So, before we do that, let's kaway-kaway muna sa mga taong dumating sa ating chat box. Mark Gonzalez is here. Sabi niya, good evening, Sir Jason. I'm quite not familiar with the last topic that you have tonight. Interested in hearing details about it. Mark, kasi ganito yan. Bryoni is in hot water with some Indian fans with an interview that she had where she mentioned that growing up, she never saw, herself represented at Miss India because of yung skin tone niya. And I think medyo na-offend yung mga mga Indian fans with what she said. Kasi Bryoni is quite dark in terms of her skin tone, and maybe she was pointing out on the fact that medyo mas lighter skinned na mga Indians yung nananalo. Now, I know that this is something that is not a new. It's not a novel topic that we discuss because there is also colorism here in the Philippines, and we have this notion that the more mestiza, the more light-skinned a girl is, the more beautiful she is because of colonial upbringing ng Pilipinas, that those who don't work at the farms and are lighter in skin tone are more affluent and therefore much more desirable. So I think yun yung pinanggagalingan nung discussion na yon. But we will be talking about that a little bit later on in the live stream. Rodwin Fiel is here, present, sir. Sabi niya, Rodwin, yeah, I kinda missed the mark on the live stream schedule on YouTube. Although I did post on Facebook and Instagram that the live stream is at 8 p.m. This evening. So I hope na hindi nag-cause yun ng masyadong confusion. Okay? Love Nimrod is here. Sabi niya, hi Jason, with a heart emoji. And Maria is present. Kaway-kaway. Ayan. So, let's talk about the Miss Universe, pageants let's talk about the Miss Universe crossovers in this year's edition. Dahil medyo marami yung mga high profile na mga candidates na magko-compete later on in El Salvador. And I think that is a very pertinent discussion that we need to talk about, dahil dito mo makikita that after all that's been said and done, Miss Universe is still the pageant of choice ng mga girls. It remains to be the more desirable na title over other titles like Miss Earth, Miss International, or even Miss Supranational, because we have seen, or we are seeing, several crossovers from these pageant systems into Miss Universe this year. And it is more of, this is not new in pageantry. Yung mga nagko-crossover hindi bago. However, this year we're kind of talking about it a little bit more because of high-profile winners na yung nagko-crossover, with the presence of Antonia Porcil and Karla Guilfu of Thailand and Puerto Rico, moving over into the other side, crossing over to the Miss Universe na sphere. And this is, something that is very, very interesting, because this time around, hindi na yung the usual na mga, tawag ito, na mga top 8, top 5, and mga top 12 na mga girls in other pageant systems ang tumatawid. This time around, we are seeing with Antonia Porcil an actual winner. a Miss Supranational winner na tumatawid sa Miss Universe this year. And we are expecting, quite a show. We're anticipating this move simply because of this is a novelty in terms of how rare it is. It is very rare that we see, a crossover of this magnitude na actual winner ng isang international competition na yung tatawid from Miss Supranational to Miss Universe. And although some may argue that this has happened before, that this is nothing new, but this is a rarity. The only high-profile girl that we know of that has, moved over or crossed over to Miss Universe after winning a international title is Miss Intercontinental 1997, Lara Dutta of India, and Miss Universe eventually at 2000. So medyo this is something that happens once in a blue moon, and Antonia's risking of her international title for the pursuit of Miss Universe only communicates to us that despite despite the popularity and despite the following of the Miss Supranational pageant, despite pageant pages declaring it as the fifth biggest international competition aside from the Alpha 4 na mga pageants, it still remains it still communicates that Miss Universe is the crown jewel that everybody is aspiring for. So, yan yung pag-uusapan natin this evening. Okay, so let's go over muna siguro sa mga comments because John Snow 79 is here. Sabi niya, hi Jason. Good evening sa lahat. Isang ulang gabi na naman. Hopefully everybody is safe, dry, may ilaw at may internet. Keeping my fingers crossed on that. Tapos, Rodin Thiel says here, hehehe, slight lang sir, syempre now lang ako ulit team live, hehehe. Looking forward to your thoughts sa topics tonight. Okay, so, there are 6 girls that are quite popular, who are joining Miss Universe this year, that come from other international na mga pageant systems. We have, of course, Miss Venezuela, Diana Silva, who was a top 8 placer in Miss Earth in, I believe, in 2018, who is now competing in Miss Universe later in El Salvador. And laki ng transformation niya. She's no longer the blonde girl that we knew in Miss Earth several years back. Ngayon, mas mukha siyang transformed. She looks like a product na talaga of the Miss Venezuela organization. And we are expecting that she will make a very good showing at Miss Universe this year, not only because of her experience at Miss Earth, but rather because of her transformation as Miss Venezuela. We think that if she plays her cards right, and then she has, of course, the luck of having the venue in a Latin country, she might be one of the girls that we might see in the top 10 this year. I think that Diana's experience at Miss Earth has proven, invaluable for her, because if we are going to factor in the sustainability element that the Miss Universe started to take upon last January during the 2022 Miss Universe competition in New Orleans, then Diana has, some foundation to build on. And I think importante yon, kasi if you are going to be, if the Miss Universe is advocating for sustainability, then you might want to have some, leverage on that, or you might want to incorporate that into your pageant campaign. And seeing that yung top 2 ng Miss Universe this year were designers who are pushing sustainability in their pageant campaigns, then I think that Diana Silva's Miss Earth experience is going to be a very invaluable na tool for her in her competition later. And I think that that Venezuelan fans are still salty over their first runner-up finish with Amanda Dudabel earlier this January. So I am thinking that with all the arsenal that the Miss Venezuela and La Quinta Venezuela has in their in their mids, they are going to be using that for Diana's campaign later in November. So I think that may hugot ang Venezuela this year in terms of wanting to win the crown. Now, the second girl that has recently been crowned, that is a crossover from the Miss International pageant system naman, is Canada's Madison Kvaltin. I'm not sure if I am if I pronounce that correctly, but she was a top 8 finisher in Miss International 2018. Nakita nyo naman kung gaano siya kaganda. She's physically very gorgeous. The face is really very superb, and there is no doubt that she probably, went to Miss Universe Canada and just won that without, even breaking a sweat. Importante din kasi na we make what do you call this? We make allowances for girls who are very gorgeous, who are physically gorgeous, dahil syempre this is still a pageant, and the ganda factors is still an important aspect to be discussed in that sense. So I know na there are a lot of pageant systems that are being treated as training ground for bigger competitions like Miss World and Miss Universe. However, I think that coming from a very relaxed environment such as Miss International, going to be a very tough and very, how do you say this, very competitive environment like Miss Universe, you really need to arm yourself up. And I think that is what Madison needs to do coming into Miss Universe. And I think perhaps she's already mentally prepared for that. But for other girls who are thinking of, na tumawid from other systems that are a little bit more relaxed, not very competitive, like other pageant systems perhaps, kinakailangan and importante na aralin yung personality ng pupuntahan nilang pageant, because Miss Universe, even if you're not yet in the you're not yet in the venue or in the host country, the competition has already begun on social media. And if you do not have that kind of tough na mentality, if you don't have that kind of mental fortitude, there's a possibility na mawala ka, na maglahok ka doon sa mental battle that you see on social media. Now, may mga comments na dito. Okay, John Snow 79 says, pag crossover to MU, sought after, following dreams. Pero pag the other way around, MU to other pageants, fall back. Ganun ba yun? Bakit parang ganun? I think, John Snow, that is a very, very pertinent question to ask. That is a very intelligent question to ask, dahil there is that kind of perception that at the pinnacle of every pageant girl's dreams is the Miss Universe title. I think that is where it's coming from. That because Miss Universe, for a lot of people, for majority of pageant watchers, Miss Universe is at the top of all pageant crowns that you can achieve. Settling down to anything lower would look, the optics would look like they're there to settle. And I think that's a double-edged sword in terms of the way of thinking, because it makes other pageant systems look like they're not as valuable as the Miss Universe na title, wherein in some cases the pageant prizes perhaps, or the opportunities to travel, to experience the world and enrich themselves as a winner, is not in the Miss Universe system. It's actually with the Miss World system. So in terms of travels, opportunities to, to grow, I believe that the Miss World has that to boast. And in fact, if you look at the track record of the Miss World winners, you have Priyanka Chopra, who has broken into Hollywood. You have, Aishwarya Rai, who is considered the most beautiful woman alive. And she's also, a very well known and awarded na actress in Bollywood. And there are several other, former Miss Universe, Miss World winners who have had opportunities to be featured in a American film. In fact, I believe Yu Wensha of China was one of the actresses in the Transporter na movie, the one after Jason Statham, the third movie, if I'm not mistaken. She was also featured there. So there are a lot of opportunities, I think, for Miss World winners to travel, to break into Hollywood, and to have, bigger, exciting careers. One case is Lisa Hanna, who became if I'm not mistaken, the minister for education and youth in Jamaica. So there's a lot of things that, because of the goodwill that Miss World is providing through the Beauty with a Purpose na charity work, malaki din yung good karma na balik sa mga winners nila. In fact, Carolina Bielowska is the most well-traveled winner among the four Alpha Queens of 2022. And in fact, Miss International is pangalawa, I believe, in terms of travels. And these are official na mga travels niya, yung 11 countries that she's visited so far. I think 10 or 11. And I think she is the most well-traveled. Jasmine Selberg is the most well-traveled Miss International winner in the past, 5-6 years. So I think in terms of opportunities, there are a lot of other pageant systems that can provide what Miss Universe is not providing. However, because of the perception of majority of fans that the Miss Universe is the pinnacle in terms of the crowns that you can win, siya yung nasa tuktok, and therefore people would associate those who are crossing over from Miss Universe to other pageant systems as settling down. So I think that is the psychology behind that, because there is a perception, there is a common, thinking that Miss Universe is at the top of the list, and therefore anything that other girls would cross over to would be a step down. And I think that is a mentality that we need to start, throwing away, because Miss Universe is, in my opinion, it's no longer the most prestigious na pageant that you can win, because of a lot of these changes that has slowly eroded the Miss Universe brand's equity. Although I would still say that it's still at the top, but nowadays level up all other pageants in terms of production. That's why you have Miss Grand International there. That's why you have Miss Supranational there, that are eating away at the market pie of the Miss Universe pageant, because these pageant systems cater to the wants and needs of the majority of pageant fans. And that is why, if you notice, Miss Grand International has a propensity of crowning winners from Latin America, because that is where the market is. That is where the market that they want to conquer. Same thing with Miss Supranational, who is wanting to eat a slice of the pie of the Miss World na pageant in its in its initial inception. So that is why you've seen Miss Supranational kung minsan majority of their winners are winners coming from countries that are very much loyal to the Miss World brand. So ayun, hindi ko na kinakailangan explain kung anong country yung sinasabi ko, but you know what I mean. And then, I think also for other pageants, ang daming nagsisulputan ng mga pageants na environmental related and eco related na mga pageants to eat away at the Miss Earth na brand. And this is also, why I'm thinking why some pageants such as Miss Universe, encroaching on the supposed territory of Miss Earth on sustainability, on preservation of natural resources and whatnot, because that is what makes Miss Earth the most relevant pageant at this time. So I'm not saying that that Miss Universe is no longer the top crown that anyone can achieve, but nowadays pageant girls have options. It's no longer the only title that that is available for pageant girls to win in, but rather there are niche markets that have developed throughout the past, I think, 15 years, 13 years, that Miss Universe no longer is the only title that matters. And that is why we have the concept of the Alpha 4, the Alpha pageants that comprises the 4 biggest international pageants that is relevant, that is prestigious, that is the top titles that anyone can, any pageant girl can achieve, can hope to, to win in. Okay? So I do hope na na medyo mas open na yung conversation natin when it comes to these titles, because I don't think that Miss Universe is the end all be all of an international pageant campaign. That is why you have certain Miss Earth winners, Jamie Herrell being one of them, na kahit na ang tagal-tagal na nating kino-convince na mag-cross over to Miss Universe, she stood her ground and said that Miss Earth for her is the kind of title that she wanted to win, and therefore yun yung kanyang pinangatawanan, and has not competed in any other international competitions after her Miss Earth na rin. So I think that's the kind of mentality that we need to be embracing at this point in time. Okay? Okay, where are we? I think we're now in the comment section with Mark Gonzalez. Yung comment niya, although it's mostly the case that those who placed high in other pageants moving to MU also placed high. I suddenly remembered Aruba's Zizi Lee, Miss World 2001 first runner-up, who went and placed in Miss U 2004. I agree, hindi lahat ng mga nagko-crossover na high-performing in other international pageants would necessarily crack the Miss Universe stage. I remember in, I think, 1997, a former Miss Asia Pacific from Costa Rica who won in 1995, I believe, in Miss Asia Pacific, competed in Miss Universe and did not even crack the semis. So there's a lot of factors that needs to be considered if you're going to join another international competition, because if you lose the other competition, people will not remember that you won first runner-up in this pageant, but they would remember that you lost in Miss Universe. So I think yun yung downside ng crossing over if you've already had a title na or a placement na that's quite high. So not everybody can be like Andrea Mesa or Catriona Gray, that from Miss World to Miss Universe they placed high. So not everybody can afford or has afforded that kind of placement. Okay? So, bago tayo tumuloy sa mga comment sections, let's just say hi muna kay Ping. Magandang gabi, Sir Jason, at sa lahat. Magandang gabi din, Ping. I do hope na hindi masyadong maulan dyan sa inyo dahil hanggang ngayon umaambon pa lang din dito sa amin. Yun. Sabi ni EJ Belch na imbag nga morning, Manong Jason. Good evening here. Naragsak nga gabi kada kayo wherever you are, EJ Belch, and I do hope na what do you call this? Na everybody is going to enjoy the long weekend here in the Philippines and wherever you are. Okay, Alzon Gutierrez says, good evening po. I think pahihirapan si Antonia Purcell to get the crown of Miss Universe. Ibang level ang mga sumasaling kandidata. Alzon, we will be talking about that a little bit later on because last on the list that I will be talking about in terms of the crossovers na topic is on Karla and Antonia. And pag-uusapan natin yung kanilang mga placements. Okay? So let's run over muna doon kina Miss Nicaragua and kay Michelle because they're the next in our list. So we've already talked about Madison and Diana who competed in Miss Earth and Miss International in 2018. So we'll be talking about Shanice Palacios, who was a top 40 in Miss World 2021, who's representing Nicaragua in Miss Universe in El Salvador later this November. Ang kagandahan ni Shanice is that her placement, her top 40 placement at Miss World is almost neglectable. People will not fault her for jumping over to Miss Universe because of a top 40 placement at Miss World. That is, something that is very much a good thing for Shanice because she's not burdened doon sa fact na she was a top 40 in Miss World. In fact, it might pose as a challenge for her because if she makes semis in Miss Universe, then out-achieve niya yung top 40 placement niya at Miss World. So, wala siyang talo if she does not make it in the top 16 or top 20 of Miss Universe later. I don't think people will be faulting her for that as well because a top 40 placement at Miss World probably is not something to scoff at if you don't make it in Miss Universe. So kumbaga walang talo itong si Shanice in terms of her competing in Miss Universe this year. In fact, I think that she might even outperform yung kanyang performance at Miss World, and she might be one of the girls who will score a semi-final placement at Miss Universe this year simply because of the venue. Tandaan natin, whenever a venue is at a Latin-friendly na either country or state in the US, you would almost how to say this, guarantee that a Latina will win and a Latina domination is going to happen. And we've seen this in Miss Universe 2014 with Colombia's Colombia winning si Paulina Vega, and you've seen naman kung gaano ka competitive yung mga batch na sinalihan niya, but still she was like a runaway winner from the get-go. And then in 2020 when it was held again in Miami in Florida, yung dun sa Guitar Hotel, yung Miss Universe, we've seen that the top 5 is predominantly Latinas with only one Asian making it into the top 5. And then we've seen Andrea Mesa winning that title. So I am not surprised if later on in Miss Universe this year we will see a Latina domination. I do think that perhaps majority of the top 10, like probably almost half of the top 10 would probably be a Latina. And yung 5 slots, magpapatayan ang mga yon to make it into the top 5, top 3 of Miss Universe this year. That is my gut feel as of this moment. I think that whenever a country host, whenever a Miss Universe pageant is hosted in a Latino-friendly na venue, we will always be seeing the Latinas, dominating that competition for that year. And we've seen that in 2014 and in 2020, and we are expecting to see that again this year. I think with the first runner-up na placement ni Amanda Dunamel last Miss Universe at NOLA, I think more and more Latinos are very much thirsty to prove their dominance at pageantry come Miss Universe in El Salvador. So we really need to, if I were a pageant girl coming from Asia, from Europe, and Africa, they really need to step up the game because it will become a very competitive batch later on. It will become a very technically proficient na labanan in pasarela later on, because you know how Latinas are very good at their pasarelas. They're very technically proficient in terms of showmanship. So we really need to make sure that whoever we send there, whether it's from the Philippines, from Thailand, from South Africa, or India, you really need to send someone who can, head to head, go toe to toe with the best Latina walkers in the competition. So I think we really need to think of it in that manner. Okay, now nasa na ba tayo? So yes, Balta Costa. I will be talking about Michelle in a bit. Sabi ni Balt, good evening, Sir Jess. I'm all ears sa analysis mo kay MMD. Brian is here. Hello, Sir Jason, watching from Melbourne, Australia. Hello and good day there. I do hope na the weather is good in Melbourne. Otan is here. He says, hello, Sir Jason. Multidox1 is here. Sabi niya, good morning from the sunny and scorching Mississippi. Okay, then we're back. Back online, scored some chips para mas happy ang stream, sabi ni Rodvin Fiel. Ayan. I do hope I can do that kasi naiinggit ako kapag may kumakain. Anyway, I do have my coffee with me. I know, it's weird. Nagkakape kahit gabi. But I think I'm one of those people na kahit nakainom ng kape sa gabi, kayang matulog. But once I wake up somewhere in, like in the 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning, gising na ako until like 7. So, I'm one of those people na kayang matulog kapag nakainom ng kape. But I do need, that kind of focus later on because plug ko lang, hindi naman plug, but later kasi tomorrow, I will be doing some syllabus for the classes that I'm going to teach this coming semester. So I need that kind of extra alertness. Later after our live stream, magbabasa ako ng mga libro. I know this is not pageant related, and I know you probably don't care about about this what I'm going to do later on. But yun yung buhay ko ngayon. Aside from preparing for the live stream, writing some articles on social media, ganyan, I'm also doing reviews for syllabus because starting around by the end of the month, start na ng mga classes ko for the schools that I am teaching. So after our live stream, magbabasa ako ng mga libro, so it's back to regular work. So anyway, now let's talk about Michelle kasi I think Balta Costa is excited doon sa discussion natin kay Michelle. Now, Michelle is in a very good position, being only a top 12 na placement doon sa Miss World na journey niya in, was it 2019 or 2020? Wait lang. 2019. So she's in a good position simply because that is like not too low na mababang expectations sa kanya, but quite high enough that she can she can outdo her top 12 na placement. And she's also in a good position because nga tayo nung nga tayo nung nasa NOLA ang Miss Universe. So whether or not Michelle will outstrip yung performance ni Celeste in January, I think that lahat tayo magiging happy doon sa whatever place na ma-achieve ni Michelle, because on my end, I think that a semi-finalist spot is guaranteed for her. Because if you're looking at the P group right now, in terms of technical skill, of course hindi naman nawawala yung pasarela skills ni Michelle. What sets her out, or and because she's the only girl that has a very oriental look, that is an advantage, because if you put all the P group in a lineup, siya yung naiiba yung itsura. However, I do also think that just because she stands out in the P group, that doesn't mean that she should just be very chill, because the P group, as you know, is developing as of this moment as a more tough group in terms of the entire competition. You've seen Peru, you've seen Puerto Rico, where these girls are there to slay. Let's put it this way. Peru, yung representative ng Peru, competed for Miss Universe Peru 3 times. And out of that 3 times, she was first runner-up in 2 occasions. Dun sa 3rd attempt niya, I believe, saka siya yung nanalo. And with that kind of placement, with that kind of pageant journey going to Miss Universe, you would know that she would not waste any moment, she would not waste any opportunity to shine come Miss Universe, because she waited for that for several years. She worked hard for that for several years. So, kumbaga, may kailangan siyang patunayan. And I think that's what makes Peru quite dangerous. The same thing with Karla, because we've seen her performance at Miss Supranational, and I think yung performance niya at Miss Universe Puerto Rico this year is even a better, it's a level up of her performance from her Miss Supranational stint. So you would know that she would continuously be improving for Miss Universe, and not to mention that she is taking her MA. She is a leader in her community. Meron siyang social outreach na mga projects. She's also very much accomplished in terms of her pageant na journey. So, kumbaga, because of she has all of these achievements under her belt, she needs to prove and perform well, so that hindi siya mapahiya doon sa crossing over niya into Miss Universe. And I think that makes her another dangerous na contender. And Michelle being smacked in between these two girls, she really needs to step up. And the beauty with Michelle, it feels like she's not very bothered with the criticisms, the bashings that she gets from different fans from here, the Philippines, and abroad. So on that sense, I think Michelle is in good hands, but she still needs to make sure that she works hard for it. On paper, Michelle is a perfect candidate for Miss Universe because of her involvement with autism, because of her backstory. Marami siyang mapaghuhugutan. However, in terms of technical skill, if we're going to look at her technical performance at Miss Universe Philippines versus the technical performance of her co-candidates at the P group, medyo she's on the lagging behind na aspect. Just because of the technical showmanship, and we expect that naman from the Latinas. However, I think that as of this moment, excuse me, as of this moment, Michelle is sitting comfortably in at least a semi-finalist placement, which is not a bad thing. Kasi at least kahit papano, makapasok tayo sa semis. And it's actually easier to make to make top 10, top 5 if you make semis as compared to making it into the top 20 or the top 16 dahil yung sheer numbers alone, mas marami kang patutumbahin in the preliminaries than when you are at the finals. When you are the finals, patutumbahin mo na lang is 14 girls, 9 girls, 4 girls, 3 girls, 1 girl. So logistically, that is a better better fight numerically as compared to you have to compete for 15 spots from a field of 80, 90 candidates. So there. Okay, so where are we? Rodwin Fiel is here. It's not weird, sir. It's not weird, sir. Hehehe. I'm prepping my coffee machine din para makapagkape mamaya. Ayan. Oh my God. I think I scrolled past some comments. Sa balik tayo. I think it's just PL yung last na hindi natin nabasa. Sabi niya, if the MU2023 will be dominated by continental semi-finalists to avoid Latin domination, if the MU2023 will be dominated by Latinas, is it not best to bring back the continental placement for semis? Ito a theory lang. I think mangyayari yan kapag merong silang gustong ipasok na girl na hindi makakapasok if they are going to just make it into the whoever makes top 10, they're the ones who make top 10. The continental grouping for me is beneficial to the org kapag meron silang gustong ipasok na wala doon sa actual na nag-perform into the top 16, top 15. So, if they don't want to have a Latin domination, the Miss Universe can bring back, of course, the continental grouping just so to curtail yung domination ng mga Latinas in the semis. I think that can happen. Kasi if there is a girl na gusto nilang panalunin, gagawa sila ng paraan para may panalo nila yung girl na yon. Dahil nakita nyo naman nung Miss Universe 2019 na gusto nila na makuda yung manalo. So what they did was magpasok ng ilang levels of kudaan into the system, into the format. Of course, kung gusto mong magluto ng sinigang, syempre yung rekado mo pang sinigang. Hindi ka naman pwedeng magluluto ng sinigang pero ang rekado mo pang pinakbet. So I think that is a way, a tactic or a strategy of the organization that they can employ if they want certain countries to make into the semis. Or they want a certain kind of girl to make into the semis. So, yon. Jon Snow follows that up with a question. Sabi niya, do you think MU will use the continental semi-finalist to avoid Latin domination para equal ang playing field? They can definitely do that. However, in my gut feel tells me that they might do it differently. Hindi na siya yung the usual continental grouping na gagawin nila like before. Probably they're gonna rebrand or relabel it into something different. I don't know. I think that's the more possible scenario. Saan na ba tayo? EJ Belch, what do you teach, Sir Jason, and which schools do you teach? So I'm still with with the University of the Philippines. So, I'm teaching currently mga fashion-related na mga subjects on merchandising, on visual merchandising, retail merchandising. I still do a little bit of teaching mga fashion design courses, but that's in other schools. I teach in SOFA and iAcademy. Okay, Dorothy V. Jones is here. Sabi niya, hello, good evening. Do you think Kun An will conform more now to pageant watches expectations? I don't think so, Dorothy. Kasi she's the type of person who will march to the own beat of her drum. Because she will probably listen to feedback, but it will not be the factor that will make her decisions, that would make her decisions what it is based on yung iniisip ng ibang tao. I think she's the kind of person that is more likely to be welcoming of opinions of others, but ultimately she will make the decision based on what she feels is right and good for her organization. And whether these decisions are right or wrong, labas tayo doon. I think yun yung ano niya, yun yung punto de vista niya. She's not doing this only for the fans, but rather she's also doing this as an owner, and as an owner who has to safeguard yung viability ng organization niya. She needs to put her people first before she makes, these kinds of decisions, because ultimately sa tingin ko, Kun An, ang mas malaking factor ng kanyang mga decisions would be based on, will this benefit the Miss Universe organization that she's headed. Okay? Tanong ni Salvi Salem. Good evening, Sir Jason. Which is better, continental semi-finalists or the outright semi-finalists, regardless of which continent the girl belongs? The second one. For me, give to the girls what is due to them. So, if Miss Philippines makes top 15, give it to the Philippines. Give her spot. Don't take away her spot and, give it to someone else just because of representation. I think that is a very dangerous thing to do, because ultimately, you would want to be fair to your candidates. Michael Cordovez, nakahabol ako, sabi niya. Totoo ba talaga na wala ng Indonesian representative sa Miss U? Let's talk about that a little bit later, kasi pag-uusapan natin yung the last two remaining crossovers that we want to discuss. Okay, so unahin na natin si Karla Guilfu, who is just recently crowned as Miss Universe Puerto Rico, who was Miss Supranational 2021 first runner-up. Siya yung runner-up ni Chanik Rabe. I think that Puerto Rico is in a position where kung ipanalo siya ng Miss Universe, walang magiging kaso, because she was just a runner-up at Miss Supranational. I think that maybe because of several factors, mas malaki yung chances, or rather mas malaki yung possible chances that Karla Guilfu will win Miss Universe over Antonia. And here's why. First one, there is less baggage if she wins, because she was not the winner at Miss Supranational, and wala siyang masyadong dadalhin na mabigat na emotional baggage from that as compared to Antonia. And this might reflect on the pressure. It might reflect on the expectations of people from her. Dahil winner ka na sa Miss Supranational, so kinakailangan winner. There's no other way but, go up when it comes to your participation at Miss Universe. I think that is going to be the the biggest, baggage that Antonia might be getting or might be bringing into her competition at Miss Universe. Walang ganon si Karla. And the second thing is, Miss Universe is held at a Latin country. And of course, Puerto Rico being a Latin country is quite in a good position in that area. I've mentioned earlier na whenever the Miss Universe pageant is held at a Latin-friendly country, it is usually the case that we see a Latina winner at Miss Universe, and this was probably best exemplified with Paulina Vega in 2014 and Andrea Mesa in 2020. So I think that between Karla, there is less emotional baggage with Karla going into Miss Universe, and there is less, pressure for her to win, unlike with Antonia. Now, pag-usapan natin si Antonia. She is Miss Supranational in 2019, and what she's bringing into the Miss Universe competition is a much improved Antonia. Kita pa rin naman natin that even during the finals of MUT, Antonia has a little bit of struggle in terms of, being convincing when she speaks and when she talks. And I think that is a hurdle that Antonia needs to rectify before she goes at Miss Universe. Now, the biggest pressure or the biggest emotional baggage that she's bringing into Miss Universe later on is perhaps the expectation from fans that you've already won Miss Supranational, so there's no way but to go up. There's no other way but to duplicate that victory at Miss Universe. And I think that comes with pressure, that comes with, mental baggage for a winner. And if she's not careful with the way that she prepares, the way that she, handles this stress and this pressure, she might get lost in the competition itself. So I do hope that she is emotionally, prepared for that kind of baggage to face, and that she brings to Miss Universe later on a Antonia that is not weighed down by her Miss Supranational na performance and her Miss Supranational na winning. So I do hope that from Miss Universe, there's no baggage that would drag her down, because the last thing that she needs is, to get mentally derailed from the task at hand. Okay? Let's read some comments. Travel Junkies here, present. Sir Jason, I hope a sleeper or dark horse will win Miss Universe. I think Michelle D has the same fate or style of Pia. Di lahat on board sa kanya. So, malay natin. I discussed, Michelle a little bit earlier. So, if for those that who are just joining us this evening, replay nyo na lang yung video mamaya. Travel Junkie, I kinda feel for Michelle, but as of this moment, I really think na she's safe with a semi-finals na placement. Moving beyond that, I still need to see kung sino yung mga kalaban niya later on. Bata Costa, sabi niya, I agree with you, Sir Jesh. In my opinion, This Oriental looks may work for her or against her. Pwedeng lamunin ng showmanship, styling ng mga Latina, or she'll stand out because of her kakaibang beauty. I think it will be a plus point for her. But then again, kinakailangan niyang sabayan yon with, technical proficiency. EJ Bells, sabi niya, personally, are you in favor of allowing winners from other pageants to join other beauty contests? Yes. I'm okay with that. Kasi dito mo makikita if the girl has the courage and the mental fortitude, to risk it all. Because you don't win if you don't Kumaga, you won't expect to win big if you're not ready to gamble big. So ayun yun. So all bets are off at this point. Jon Snow 79. This is just my opinion. Both Karla and MMD looked better during their previous pageants. Antonia upgraded everything from looks to interview. Don't forget the Kun-An factor. Kinda agree. Kung nagustuhan ni Kun-An si Antonia, then dehado lahat ng mga makakalaban niya. This is also the reason why I think that any girl who wants to be Miss Universe this year has to be at the same level of technical proficiency with the Latinas, has to be very good in interviews, has a very well-prepared wardrobe, and has a very meaty resume that includes social causes, that includes achievements in life, because you want a winner like Catriona, who is undeniably the best girl in her batch. So I think that is something that anyone in the Miss Universe candidate pool this year would have to think about. Okay, sabi ni Jon Snow, dinagdag niya, Nicaragua is the best Latina for me this year sa MU. And God, kung ibabalik nila yung opening dance, I think Nicaragua should be like front and center for that. Kasi magaling mag-perform, magaling magsayaw si Sashes. Okay, Michael Cordoves, sabi niya, sana lang yung MU sa El Salvador hindi magaya sa Miss U 2002 sa ginawa sa Puerto Rico na halos puro Latina nakapasok sa top 10. Then again, for me, if the Latinas did perform and they are very much worthy of their spot, then give it to them. Regardless kung ang 12 doon sa top 15 is all Latinas or 13 doon sa top 16 is Latinas, like what happened in Manila, na parang 10 yata out of the top 16 puro Latina lahat. So if they earn their spot, give it to them. I think yun yung punto de vista ko on that matter. Okay, now pag-usapan natin si Indonesia, because I think sino ba ang nag-mention kanina? Was it Jester PL ba ang nag-mention or si Multidocs? Okay. Sino yung nagbanggit about Indonesia? I think, sige, let me just check the comment section. Nasaan na yun? Hindi ko na mahanap yung sino nag-comment about Miss Universe Indonesia. I think it's Michael Cordoves. Ayun, nakita ko na. Totoo ba talaga na walang Indonesian representative sa Miss U? Okay, here's the thing. This is not yet a done deal. It's not yet confirmed. But there are people in the Indonesian government who are pushing, requesting that ayusin muna yung gulo ng body checking scandal at Miss Universe Indonesia and not to send a representative at Miss Universe this year. Now, do I agree with that? I don't, but if this is a government mandate and in-enforce siya, wala tayong magagawa. Because right now, for those who are, not as familiar with the issue, this is a huge issue that rocked pageantry in Indonesia. To the point that araw-araw siyang pinag-uusapan sa news, yung nangyari. So, this is quite a huge thing in Indonesia. For us, it's not so much of a big deal because the news that we get are second-hand information, because we don't necessarily follow their pageants. The Philippines does not have anything in common in terms of language. na naiintindihan natin, that we understand their language. We have similarities in words and in certain, vocabulary, but in terms of language, there is, there is a quite a ocean wide in terms of difference between Filipino and Bahasa Indonesia. So we don't necessarily have the same dynamics as, for example, Malaysia has with Indonesia. And for us, it's not a big deal because we don't see it permeate in our news feeds. However, in Indonesia, that's not the case. Malaking issue siya. It's a huge issue. I'm telling you that investigation, that the government is getting, getting antsy about it. Now, if it happens that magsabi ang government nila na no representative this year, there is no other, there is no other option but to abide by that ruling. Even Miss Universe cannot, break that, even if they are going to make all the arrangements so that, Fabian is going to compete in El Salvador. If the government says no, then it's a huge no. It's a big no, and you don't want to be criminally charged if you compete in Miss Universe and face, the police at the airport as your welcoming committee. Now, is this legal? I don't know kung ano yung process of how it is enforced and how it is, how the legalities of this move are. However, if you remember, back in the 1970s, the Philippines actually did this. That, if I'm not mistaken, it was Peachy Veneracion who was already in London competing for Miss World. And then suddenly, a representative from the Philippine Embassy went to their venue with flowers and then a note. And this is a note from then, President Marcos, saying that unfortunately, because of the apartheid issue in South Africa, we are requesting for you to step back from the competition. And that's what happened. For several years, the Philippines did not participate in Miss World simply because of yung stance ng Philippines against apartheid in South Africa. So this can happen. This can possibly be, enforceable should it come to these terms in Miss Universe Indonesia. So there is a possibility. We're still, waiting for additional na mga information should this push through, because I think ultimately ang kinakailangan natin intindihin dito is that in order malaking parte ng kultura nila yung hindi na sila napapahiya sa Indonesia. So if a representative competes in Miss Universe and then this topic is brought out, mas malaking dagok na ang mangyayari kung sasabihin ng representative nila na hindi ako pwede magsalita about this issue dahil pinagbabawalan ako ng gobyerno namin. Because the optics is going to be quite bad. Kasi iisipin nila, ay, oppressive pala yung gobyerno nila doon. So, the best way to deal siguro na iniisip ng gobyerno ng Indonesia for this issue is not to send a representative and solve muna yung issue doon sa kanila. If they find the parties guilty, maparusahan yung mga kinakailangan maparusahan, absuelte yung mga inosente, then next year pwede pa naman silang magpadala. I think that is, the wisdom behind that. On my end, I think that makes sense from a logical perspective. However, being a fanboy ng pageants, ang gusto natin, makita natin maraming mga candidates ng Miss Universe or any pageant that we support. But that is not within our realm of control. Ultimately, it's the government's decision should they push for that. I do hope that if that is the case, tanggapin na lang ng mga fans na wala silang magagawa dahil utos na yun ng gobyerno nila. Okay? Where are we? Rocco Moreno. I think it's Rocco Moreno, yung ating last na hindi unread na message. Okay, sabi ni Rocco, "Hi Jason, does Antonia have the same team trainer then and now? Hindi ba Filipino yung trainer niya when she won Miss Supra? Pati yung winner ng Miss Thailand International, pareho sila ng team and trainer." This year, no. Antonia is training with a local Thai team for MUT. And if I'm not mistaken, parang kapag nanalo na ng MUT yung winner, hands off na yung mga trainers, yung mga local trainers nila. Kasi MUT na yung team na magte-train sa kanya for Miss Universe. Jester PL, tanong niya, Sir Jason, about kay Indonesian representative, best ba to still fight kahit walang amor sa kanya, majority ng mga kababayan niya? At this point in time, mas maganda kung hintayin natin kung papayagan ba siya ng gobyerno nila na mag-compete. Kasi kahit naman sabihin natin na ayaw ng mga fans ng mga kababayan niya na mag-compete siya, kung gusto niya, kung bibigyan siya ng opportunity ng opportunity ng Miss Universe to compete at sila ang bahala na mag-ayos ng mga papeles and everything, then wala tayong magagawa. Although I don't think naman na very winnable si girl. Pasensya na. Prangkahan lang. Okay, Mark Allen. MU's sabi ni Mark Allen, MU's downfall is coming faster than expected. I do hope na that they are able na maagapan nila yon. Are we? I think EJ Bell. No, it's Rocco Moreno ulit. Okay. Ang sabi ni Rocco Moreno, baka next year, winner ng Thailand International naman ang lalaban, at kung manalo si Antonia this year, si Miss Thai International naman lalaban next year. EJ Belge, what do you think would encourage European nations to spur more interest in pageants? Would greater financial incentive help? Would Asian investment and involvement help, or even be feasible? That's the thing about Europeans. There are only several European countries that are interested, very much interested with pageantry, and I think that is Spain and France. The thing about Europeans is that in terms of opportunities, in terms of economic choices, they are spoiled with choice. So pageantry is not something that would help them in their careers. Unlike here in the Philippines or in Latin America or in other, pageant crazy countries. In France, if you are a Miss France, people respect you for that title. And I think that is something that, other European countries don't have. At this point, I don't have any concrete thoughts on ano yung pwede nilang gawin. But perhaps we need first to delve into the psychology of each of these European countries to have an understanding first kung what makes them interested in what they're interested in. I think ultimately, because most European countries are a little bit more on the chill na side and are not very overly competitive. I don't think na yung attitudes na yon magbabago. So I don't think it has to be fundamentally be a change within their system itself, within their society itself, and magka-interest muna magkaroon muna ng market locally sa Europe bago siya maging really popular. I think kung walang market, ang hirap talaga din i-push talaga. yung pageantry. I don't think a lot of Europeans have a welcoming attitude towards pageantry. Okay, nasaan ba tayo? John Snow says, I read somewhere na matagal na regulation yung gustong ipa-implement ng Indonesian government. Hindi lang sinusunod ng ibang pageants. Tagilid ang mga mega botanding pageant ni Ivana kung maghihigpit sila. I do hope na whatever their choice is, that choice is good for them long term. Kasi hindi naman sila ganun ka importante sa mundo ng pageantry sa konteksto nating mga Pilipino. Masakit sabihin, masakit pakinggan, pero yun naman ang totoo. Makaka-survive naman ang pageantry kahit wala sila eh. And na-survive ng pageantry nung wala sila from the 90s and 2000s at kailan lang sila bumalik. So I don't think na what do you call this? I don't think na kawalan sa atin o kawalan sa industriya ng pageantry kung nandun sila. Kung maghigpit man sila, then well and good. If that guarantees, safety and well-being of the candidates, that it is, something that the government needs to look at in terms of how the pageant is being held, so that these kinds of sexual harassment and abuse and exploitation, scandals do not happen. Okay? Nako, saka okay, comment ni John Snow 79. Paano kung sabihin ng government nila to stop sending candidates in any pageant? Sabay-sabay silang sisigaw ng Indonesia, we didn't. Okay, I kind of feel bad if that happens, because having lived there, I know societal expectations for the LGBTQI community is quite different as here in the Philippines. And pageantry is one of the few avenues that the LGBTQI community have in Indonesia. However, we have to understand that Indonesia is primarily a Muslim country, and despite it having mga religions, different religions, there are Hindus there are Christians and Catholics there. I think their population is around 60% still Muslim. So overall, the country is still within the more conservative aspect of things. If ever they make that decision that they don't want pageants to be exploitative, then that is their choice. That is their government's choice in order to protect its citizens, especially with what happened, at Miss Universe Indonesia. These allegations of sexual abuse, these are scandals that really rocked the very conservative na country. Unlike here in the Philippines na scandal ngayon kinalimutan na kinabukasan. That is one of the negative attitudes that we have naman here in the Philippines, that mainit siya ngayon pero limot na kinabukasan. So I think here in the Philippines naman, we have the problem of holding somebody accountable for longer periods of time, na after a hot minute, ay nakalimutan na may atraso pala itong mga taong ito sa ganitong sa ating lahat, ganyan. So okay, so last thing that we will be talking about is the very hot na interview on Bryoni had in South Africa. So in that interview kasi, Bryoni commented that she doesn't see women of her skin tone, of her color, winning Miss India growing up, and that she is quite grateful with Miss South Africa, where women of her darker na skin color has the chance to win. And this did not necessarily, go well with a number of Indian pageant pages and pageant fans. I know that, colorism is not a topic na madalas nating pinag-uusapan. And I think that this is not this is not an issue na unique sa India or sa Pilipinas. There are other countries na ang thinking is kapag mas maputi ka, mas lighter ang skin tone mo, mas maganda ka. That is why there are a lot of skin whitening products that is being peddled to both the Indian and the Filipino market, because that is yung perception natin. That is how that is the society that we grew up in. I know that, Bryoni is not being malicious or has ill intent when she said that. She only meant that she is grateful of the representation that someone of her skin color can win Miss South Africa. And I think that is a statement that is applicable to all, because we should be, we should be open to different types and definitions of what is beautiful, regardless of skin tone, regardless of race, regardless of, political or religious na affiliations. Dahil if we put a lot of, parameters, we put a lot of what shouldn't be beautiful in terms of, the way that we define beauty, then masyadong maliit yung mundong gagalawan ng pageantry. I think that there is a way perhaps for Bryoni to have communicated this, a little less stingy, a little less painful. Sorry, I think that's the word. A little less painful to Indian pageantry, because even if sabihin natin na darker skin tone na mga Miss India has been crowned, a number of them happened probably nitong recent memory lang, that we have wait lang, saan yung notes ko? We have Usoshi Sengupta, we have Vasuki Sungkavali, who are not your typical Indian na medyo nasa morena na complexion, but a little bit on the darker side. Even Noyonita Lod, who I saw in Doral when I was covering Miss Universe in 2014, is mas maitim pa sa akin. And I think that, pageantry as a whole, not just India, but we as a whole, the pageant industry as a whole, is beginning to be more inclusive in terms of what is considered beautiful. So, the comment of Bryoni was a little bit painful to hear. If in case I was Indian, I do hope that she would have worded it a little less, painful, so that it would not have offended her heritage, her Indian heritage. However, I do have, I do agree with her point that if you don't see yourself being represented in media, you feel bad for yourself, and you would want to find a place or a space where you are represented, you are acknowledged, to a larger, to society. So I think yun yung pinanghugutan niya. I don't think that it was a malicious comment from her, but I think it could have been worded better so that it would not have offended yung sensibilities ng mga Indian pageant pages and fans. However, I don't think that this is going to be something that is going to be detrimental to her pageant campaign in Miss Universe later in El Salvador. I do hope that she is able to address this a little bit further in Miss Universe so that meron siyang speaking points, so that she's able to explain her perspective growing up to a wider audience and give context to what she said, give more understanding and context doon sa point of view niya on that sense. I think that is something that would help her be more understood later on in the competition. Okay, saan na dito? Wait a minute. Bragito, there was a tweet from the handler of MU Indonesia winner that they'll be participating daw. If it's up to me, dapat din na lang nila ipadala yung winner. Kahit naman, well, masakit man sabihin, Bragito, pero kahit naman na sumali siya, hindi naman siya magiging hindi ko sa tingin ko lang hindi siya winnable eh. There are other girls na mas maintindihan kong nasa top 5, nasa top 10, nasa semis over her. However, maybe kung gusto ng Miss Universe na mapag-usapan, pwede nila siyang ipasok and have her explain yung konteksto ng scandal sa Indonesia. But that would be a very huge undertaking for her because she will be jeopardizing yung relationship niya with the current organization, or rather the relationship niya with Papi Capella's company. And I am not sure kung bibigyan siya ng support ng MU Indonesia since wala na nga sa kanila yung franchise, and they probably are not allowed to have a hand on her preparations. So I don't know yet how will that work out, but kung mayaman naman si Fabian, di solderin na niya lahat and treat it as another expensive vacation, yung pagpunta niya ng El Salvador. EJ Belge, question niya, if the current franchise owner of MUI has been disowned, who's gonna finance the cost of sending her to El Salvador? Is the franchise still obligated to honor its financial responsibility, including prizes? I think yung prizes siguro, oo, kasi kung may pirmahan and it's in black and white, yung contract, then they have to honor that contract. Pero kung wala pang napipirmahang contract, wala pang kasulatan na legal, then lusot ang kumpanya ni Poppy. Yun lang yung downside of that. But who knows who is going to finance her campaign? That I don't know. More likely that they're not going to charge a national franchise for Indonesia this year kay Fabian, if in case na nabayaran na ni Poppy yung yung franchise fee earlier this year. That is non-refundable, and that is essentially like a hall pass for Fabian to be able to compete dahil wala na siyang babayarang franchise fee kung nabayaran na siya ng organization ni Poppy. Kasi I think within their clause of their contracts na if the Miss Universe organization finds irregularities in the way that the pageant is being held or being conducted, they have the right to terminate the contract at will. So I don't think may habol ang kumpanya ni Poppy doon, even if sabihin natin that they already paid the franchise. The problema lang dito is kahit naman na mag-compete si Fabian, I don't think that she would make a dent in the competition later on unless bigyan siya ng spotlight to clarify and talk about sexual harassment at the Miss Universe stage, much like what they did nung nagkaroon ng nung na-disgrasya. Okay, we're back. Okay, as I was saying, they might give her spotlight doon sa pageant, much like what they did for Miss Albania in 2015 and kay Angela Ponce in 2018. And if I'm not mistaken, back in, was it 2017, they also had a roundtable discussion on sexual harassment on the Me Too movement during that year. So they might be doing that. But then again, it's something na very tricky na gawin ng organization dahil undergoing pa yung investigation. Paano kung they found out that the organization is guilty? May balik pa rin yun sa kanila. May balik pa rin yun sa Miss Universe organization that you did not vet your national directors enough to the point na were you able to background check all of these applicants before awarding them the franchise. So yun yung magiging downside nung pag-participate niya. However, I think they might just allow her to compete just for participation's sake, pero yung possibility for her to win very slim kasi even without the scandal, I don't think that she was a strong candidate to begin with. So yun. I think we've covered a lot of topics for this evening. Thank you very much for sticking with me throughout this entire live stream. Di ko napansin mahigit isang oras at mahigit 1 hour and 30 minutes na pala tayo nag-uusap. And I am very thankful for everyone for joining me in this live stream. Thank you very much for the support. Now, before we end our live stream, please do leave a like doon sa ating live stream this evening. Share, like, and comment. For those who just joined our discussion this evening, please do subscribe and help us to grow this channel together. Okay? Last comments from Ping says, sabi ni Ping, thanks Sir Jason. Dorothy V. Jones, sabi niya, I would prefer that Indonesia rest for 2 years and regroup and prepare better for international pageants. I agree. I do hope that after this investigation is done and checks and balances have been put in place and the Miss Universe organization and the Indonesian government would establish better rules in in conducting pageants, makabalik sila with a more renewed energy. Ayun. Thank you very much for everyone. Despite all yung mga issues natin on napuputol tayo this time around, salamat sa pag-participate. Now, yung question ni Ping, lagi na ba tayong may session ng Saturday at 8 p.m.? Yes, we will be returning back doon sa ating Saturday na live stream schedule. Medyo na-discarrel lang siya because of the pageants na happening on a Sunday evening, that's happening on a Tuesday evening. So medyo that kind of through our schedules. So we will be returning back to our regular Saturday na programming from here on out until the Miss Universe season. Because come Miss Universe season, may mga pageants tayo that will happen on a Tuesday, that will happen on a Friday or on a Saturday, and we are going to make allowances around that. So I will be making announcements kung kailan tayo live stream. And also, antabayan ninyo yung mga announcement natin on our socials, whether it's in Instagram or on Facebook. Usually, kapag I am having second thoughts on kaya bang mag-live stream on a day or on an evening, I will be posting like a poll if anyone is interested to join the live stream. Dahil kung ang karamihan sa inyo wag muna, sa susunod na araw na lang, then I will be making allowances for your availability as well. Okay, so thank you very much for everyone. I do hope na makatulog tayo ng maayos ngayong gabi. I do hope that you would have a restful evening and enjoy the long weekend. We still have Sunday and Monday na wala tayong gagawin. So petics muna tayo on this time. September is going to be a very chill month because there's no major pageants that's going to happen. So magbabardagulan tayo starting October dahil we have Miss International, Mr. International, I think MGI is also happening on that month. So, sunod-sunod na yan. October, November, and December is going to be the international pageant season. And later, kapag na-confirm ko na yung mga ibang mga schedules ng mga upcoming na mga pageants like Miss Cosmo World, Great Man of the Philippines, and other, mga male pageants and female pageants na happening now, I will be giving you an update on those as well. Hiyas ng Pilipinas as well, isasama natin sa listahan. Ayan. So, have a great evening everyone, and I do hope na sa mga ilan sa inyo na hindi pa nakakapag-dinner, makapag-dinner na after this live stream. Okay? Bye everyone and see you next week. Take care. Oops.